When Disney reached a settlement last week with President-elect Donald J. Trump in his defamation case against ABC News, it led to accusations that the company had caved to him. Media law experts predicted the move would embolden Mr. Trump to file other lawsuits that could test the limits of the First Amendment. Disney executives had anticipated the blowback, but they also determined that they had a flawed case and that the company could risk damaging press protections for everyone by continuing to fight, as well as hurt the Disney brand. Concern among Disney lawyers had been rising for months. In July, a federal judge in Florida, Cecilia M. Altanaga, denied the media giant's motion to dismiss the suit, which Mr. Trump had filed in the spring. But more worrisome for Disney, ABC's parent company, was her commentary. In a 21-page order, Judge Altanaga, the chief judge in the Southern District of Florida, dismantled Disney's three-pronged argument for tossing the case. Mr. Trump sued after George Stephanopoulos, the star of ABC News anchor, said on the air that Mr. Trump had been found liable for rape in a New York civil trial. In fact, Mr. Trump had been found liable for sexual abuse, although the judge in that case later noted that New York has a narrow legal definition of rape. A reasonable jury could interpret Stephanopoulos' statement as defamatory, Judge Altanaga wrote, and then added an emphasis in italics. Stephanopoulos stated 10 times that a jury or juries had found plaintiff liable for rape. This is the judge's order. This cause came before the court for a hearing on July 15, 2024 on defamation. Okay, background. In the interview, Stephanopoulos asked Mace about her endorsement of plaintiff, despite the fact that he was found liable for rape. He repeated the phrase 10 times during the interview, at one point stating, judges and two separate juries have found him liable for rape, and the judge affirmed that it was in fact rape. A screenshot of a newspaper headline stating that judge clarifies, yes, Trump was found to have raped E. Jean Carroll. What does it move beyond Gen 6? Was shown near the end of the broadcast. The exchange was subsequently publicized on social media. In other interviews and in other coverage by ABC News, the verdict was described as sexual abuse, and the jury's finding the plaintiff did not rape Carroll under New York law was also discussed. Plaintiff now alleges defamation per se and defamation per quod. I don't know what that means. This is a type of defamatory statement or implication that requires additional explanation, interpretation, or extrinsic evidence to prove how it is harmful to the plaintiff's reputation and is distinguishable from defamation per se. Defamation per quod usually requires a plaintiff to establish damages resulting from the defamatory statement. This is in contrast to defamation per se, for which the law typically presumes harm to the plaintiff. Okay, so that's just what normal defamation is called. Right? Like it's either this or that, right? Okay. Wait, make it big. Here we go. As a matter of like law, without knowing much about this more than what I've read in headlines, it would make sense that you always file your like motions to dismiss and everything because, hey, why not? If you can get a case dismissed, that's awesome. But it is not surprising to me that a judge wouldn't allow it to be dismissed because this is an appropriate determination for a jury to make. Like, I do agree with that. That's for sure true. But I'm curious what the dismantling of the case looked like or what that meant. Okay. Defendants raised 3 grounds for dismissal. Okay. Collateral estopped. The doctrine of collateral estoppel precludes a party from relitigating an issue which has previously been decided against him in a proceeding in which he had a fair opportunity to fully litigate the point. Court first addresses thresholding. Okay. Timing. Okay. This argues collateral estoppel is an affirmative defense that cannot be raised at the motion to dismiss stage. Oof. Defendants insist collateral estoppel can be raised at this stage of the proceedings because the defense relies on court records, of which the court may take judicial notice. Okay, on this point, the court agrees with the defendants. All right. Curiously, plaintiff makes his argument under New York law, but cites exclusively to federal cases from federal district courts in New York and the Second Circuit. Although these cases were tried and decided in New York, their buildings are, for the most part, applications and explanations of federal law and the federal rules of civil procedure. Okay, so just to be clear, anytime something is tried in a court that says like the Southern District of Florida or whatever district of New York, when you hear that district word, that always means federal court. It has nothing to do with the state laws. The federal courthouses are just found in certain states, but federal district of or like district of whatever, these are federal courthouses. They have nothing to do with state law. So if Trump's lawyers stated that, that's kind of weird, but defendants correctly briefed the issue under the 11th Circuit precedent, diversity of citizenship actions, blah, blah, blah. We need hardly to add that if there were a relevant circuit split, the district court is bound by controlling 11th Circuit precedent. In any event, the 11th Circuit follows the same framework the plaintiff describes under motion to dismiss be treated as for one summary judgment if it presents matters with collateral estoppel. If the case is in diversity jurisdiction, it will apply state law. Well, it depends on which venue you choose to try the case, no? A basis of federal subject matter jurisdiction that allows federal courts to preside over civil actions where the matter is in controversy exceeds the sum of value of $75,000, including or excluding interest and costs between citizens of different states, citizens of the U.S. state, and citizens of diversity jurisdiction requires complete diversity of citizenship between the plaintiffs and the defendants. That is, no plaintiff may be a citizen of the same state as any defendant. Okay, I don't know what this has to do with what we just said, but okay. Diversity jurisdiction is always federal courts ruling on state issues. Oh, so if there's diversity jurisdiction, then that means that a federal court is going to be where the trial is held, but they're applying state law? Why? Why can't they just hold it in state courts? Okay, well, I don't know about that. I don't know if but okay. Plaintiff does not and cannot object to the court considering choice of law. Having determined the defendants properly raised their collateral estoppel defense, the court next considers what law governs its analysis. Defendants state that because the Carroll cases were litigated in New York law determines their preclusive effect in this case. Okay. All right. Defendants state that because the Carroll cases were litigated in New York law, plaintiff apparently, wait, there is federal civil action, right? Or am I making that up? Is there federal civil action? There is, right? Where it doesn't have to be like a federal court ruling on state civil issues, right? Like, is there federal tort? Okay. Parties are only partially correct. Defendants cited cases hold that state collateral estoppel rule, nevertheless, the parties proceed solely under New York law and the court follows suit. It is well suited in this and other circuits party made through its briefing, waive its choice of law arguments implicitly. Any event, okay, we don't care. Court is not persuaded to bar this action on collateral estoppel defense. Prior allegation, general finding, hyperbole applied to while considering a meaningfully distinct context from the facts and values presented. In the case given plaintiff's allegation. Okay, defendant's next argument is that plaintiff's claims can be dismissed because Stephanoff's statements were substantially true. Plaintiff disagrees, arguing that this determination should not be made on a motion to dismiss. That's probably true. This must be perfectly accurate. Initial inquiry under the doctrine is whether determining whether statement. Court must okay. Fair report privilege. Defendant's final argument is that they are protected by Florida's fair report privilege. Florida's fair report privilege grants news organizations that qualified privilege to report accurate information received from government officials. Okay. All right. This is fair. Okay. On Friday, Judge Altanaga dealt Disney another setback. She rejected requests to delay the case and ordered near immediate depositions for Mr. Trump and Mr. Stephanopoulos. Moreover, Disney was also told to turn over all remaining documents related to the case, including pertinent emails and text messages sent by and to Mr. Stephanopoulos by Sunday. Disney responded by opening settlement talks by Friday night. The two sides had reached a deal. The company agreed to donate $15 million to Mr. Trump's future presidential foundation and museum. Mr. Stephanopoulos and ABC News published a statement saying they regret remarks made about Mr. Trump during the March broadcast. The news network also agreed to pay Mr. Trump an additional $1 million legal fees. Concerns about the case among Disney executives and the eventual decision to settle involved multiple considerations, according to 3 people inside the company with knowledge of the discussions, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss a private matter. The settlement was recommended by Horacio Gutierrez, Disney's general counsel, and approved by Robert A. Iger, Disney's chief executive, was not elevated to a company board vote. The company was concerned that a jury in Florida, a deep red state that Mr. Trump carried by 13 points in the election last month, would side with the president-elect to potentially award him a sizable sum exceeding what it would cost to settle. Disney could have appealed, of course, and the executives felt the law was on their side, but the appeals process also carried substantial risk. Disney lawyers concluded, at a minimum, the $205 billion company would be litigating against a vindictive sitting president and risking harm to its brand. Disney wants its family-friendly movies, television shows, and theme park rides to appeal to people of all political persuasions. The company recently endured a brutal legal fight with Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida that made it a target of criticism and boycotts among Trump supporters and right-wing pundits. Mr. Trump's animus could also make it harder for ABC News to do its job during the campaign. Mr. Trump denounced ABC as terrible for its handling of his sole debate against Vice President Kamala Harris and mused about stripping the network of its broadcasting license. In the worst-case scenario, Disney concluded, fighting the case could lead to the Supreme Court and become a vehicle for Mr. Trump and his allies to overturn the landmark First Amendment decision of New York Times v. Sullivan. That 1964 ruling, as well as a handful of subsequent cases, made it much harder for public figures like Mr. Trump to win libel lawsuits. Disney's legal team, headed by Mr. Gutierrez, ultimately decided that settling, even with the inevitable negative headlines, was the best outcome, that $16 million was a small price to pay for resolving a tricky case. Disney spokesperson declined to comment for this article on Saturday when the deal was made public in the court filings. ABC News and Disney declined to explain the decision. Oh, interesting. Makes sense, huh? Jesus. Is this accurate? Isn't this really just kicking the can down the road, though? Like, at some point, somebody will have to bring it to the court. Yeah, maybe, but Disney probably stands to lose a ton in a case like that, so they wouldn't want to be the ones to try it, right? Deport immigrants illegally in the U.S. 64% favor, 36% oppose. Jesus. Deport immigrants illegally in the U.S., including longtime residents with jobs, etc. Oppose, 58%, favor, 42%. Jesus. How much criticism does Disney deserve for this? I mean, I get it, but it's pretty annoying. How large that company is, I guess, makes it so that they probably did something logical, but it sucks for us, I guess, as citizens.
Didn't understand and still don't understand is why we're all required to hate Assad. I mean, just speaking for myself, I don't have strong feelings about Assad one way or the other. Apparently, he's protected the Christians, so I'm grateful for that as a Christian. But why am I required to hate Assad? Tulsi Gabbard went and met with Assad. She's been attacked ever since. Has anyone ever explained why Americans should hate Assad?
Because every regime change operation we ever do, we have to make sure that the opponent is the worst villain since Hitler or Hitler reincarnate.
Some ophthalmologist from London is a bloodthirsty dictator. I didn't really.
We have to say this, and this is part of the psyops or the info war that goes along with regime change operations.